買えない。ハサミある、ハサミ。
Do you have scissors?
すごく
Sealed really tight.
頑丈にパッキングされてます。おいしい。
Good.
わあ、こっち来て。
Mother, come quick. Here, try.
子供の頃はもっと臭かったんです。もっともっと臭い。
When I was a child, it stank even more. I'm
もう
drooling.
よだれが出てくる。
Why do certain smells move us to tears, while others repulse us? Do the codes that smells contain manipulate us? Humans are olfactory beings. We're surrounded by odor molecules that we incessantly inhale. But why?
It is the only medium that directly enters the limbic system where emotions are created.
Yet we seem determined to eliminate natural odors, in particular our own. We primarily trust our eyes, our ears, our understanding.
Now, if we've never smelled an odor before we know what something is, before we have any concept of it, we initially have a response of like or dislike.
People assume that humans have sort of gotten over olfaction, that somehow we don't use olfaction anymore. And I think that's obviously quite wrong.
Over the course of their evolution, the members of the species Homo sapiens learned to keep away their nose from intense smells on the ground. Is this justified? Is the nose a vestige of times long past, or an astonishing secret of our species? To understand how smells influence us, we have to consider one of our most elemental traits, affection. Several scientists have designed a test to see whether smell can influence our feelings for others. They ask one group of volunteers to rate the likability of people in a series of photographs. The scientists assigned the same task to the second group. But first, they exposed the volunteers to a scent, the smell of breast milk.
Scientists think that children early on become familiar with the smell of vanilla from their mother's breast milk.
These volunteers have not been informed in advance. They've no idea. They are being manipulated.
No, I didn't smell anything in the room.
I didn't smell anything in the room. I couldn't say. No.
Volunteers exposed to the vanilla scent found the unknown persons in the photos more likable.
The word is conditioning. We link a smell with a pleasant experience. When we smell it later, we reactivate those positive emotions.
What are these mysterious molecules that influence us so much?
Smell is something that we perceive through our sense of smell, and it is a chemical as opposed to light waves, which are for vision, or sound pressure changes, which is hearing. So these are chemicals, and they have to be able to float through the air. So they have to be volatile. They have to be of a certain weight and size. They're relatively small. And they also are what's called hydrophobic. That is to say, they're repellent to water. And they're sticky. They're lipophilic. So that means they stick to oily things.
To make sense of scent molecules, we need to know their alphabet, the alphabet of smells. We inherit this alphabet from our DNA. Around 350 different genes, or about 1% of the human genome, are responsible for olfaction. These allow us to distinguish over 1 billion smells. Every substance with a smell releases molecules into the air. These odor molecules contain a code that can be deciphered only by smelling them. The odor molecules enter the nose and reach the olfactory mucosa. Its 350 different receptors work like combination locks. Every receptor is specialized in deciphering a particular molecule. But most smells consist of complicated combinations of molecules. For instance, the smell of coffee is made up of around 100 distinct odors. The avalanche of stimuli they trigger constitutes its code. This code signals an alarm that says, coffee.
The earlier you learn how to smell, the better you are at it. It's like riding a bike or skiing. Children between the ages of 2 and 3 should be encouraged to practice smelling. I took drawing courses for 9 years and music lessons, but it didn't help at all. I can neither sing nor draw. It was all for nothing. I would rather have taken smelling classes. I would have preferred to practice smelling an hour a week in school.
The memories and emotions we experience in the early years of our life are forever linked with the odors that accompany them. These childhood memories and emotions can be reactivated decades later simply by smelling those odors again. First, I want you all to blow your nose, okay? Get a tissue and blow your nose really well. Then I'll collect the dirty tissues. Now, let me explain what we're going to do next. We're going to cover your eyes and ears and smell different scents. And you're going to tell me a little about each smell.
The first time in life when you smell a smell is the essential moment. If that moment is positive or negative, your relation to that smell remain positive or negative till you die, you know? Your prejudices never go away, you know? There's no way in our world you can relearn your take on a smell. So if you can influence that first time, you know, to become more than just black and white, then there's hope. If they end up saying, wow, what an interesting smell, then there's hope in the world.
Okay, have you all smelled it now? And what do you smell? Pepper.
Ich rieche sehr gerne so Lotusblüte und Rosel. Shampoo, Lavendel, Rose und Pfefferminz. Pizza, Schokolade, Schokovanille. Und das, was ich gar nicht gerne rieche, ist wie der König gekackt.
Chocolate? No one likes poop.
Of course, you live in a world that's sterilized, deodorized, and sanitized. All those smells are, you know, it's like shocks, you know. That's why in my workshop, when the kids smell these kind of things, they think it's absolutely outrageous. They think it's amazing.
Does anyone know what that is? What does that smell like?
Pilze.
Mushrooms?
Auch
Champignons? That is smelly feet.
Oh. Also
But perhaps a little bit of mushroom is in it too.
So welcome to the 40th annual Odor Eaters Run Sneaker Contest!
someone called me up and they said, would you like to be the celebrity judge this year of the National Rotten Sneakers Contest? And at first I was really skeptical and I'm not really so sure about this. The person that was speaking to me was very persistent and I thought it was kind of cute and funny sounding. And I was starting to tell people about this and they'd say, are you crazy? These kids have the rottenest smelling sneakers in the country and you're going to go smell them. I mean, it was bad, but it wasn't nearly as bad as I expected it was going to be. And then I realized how much thinking and cognition and all sorts of sort of background and expectation go into interpreting our response of disgust.
We go to great lengths to avoid unpleasant smells, but perhaps they're more important to us than we think. Rachel Hertz, a psychologist and evolutionary biologist at Brown University, studies disgust. She became interested in the phenomenon because of poison, specifically its taste. Poison tastes bitter.
What I just want to do is ask just like 3 of you at a time to do this so that and take some pictures of you while you're doing it. So just put it on your tongue.
For how long?
Just for like about 10 seconds. Maybe less. Oh. In terms of the face that people are making to this bitter compound, this is the face of disgust. This is the face of emotional disgust as well as the face of bitter taste. So the emotion of disgust is scaffolded on this bitter taste reaction because if I didn't know what had happened to her, I could just think that she had to put her hand in cold spaghetti and she was told it was worms. So her face is the same if it's disgust or if it's bitter taste. That our mouths respond to.
Our response to bitter tastes and to unpleasant smells have the same evolutionary background. Both warn us of danger. But knowing what is dangerous and what isn't is everything but easy.
I'm going to give you an odor jar. It's white with a black lid. I'm just going to ask you to unscrew the black lid and smell the cotton inside. But before you do that, I'm going to tell you what it is. And then I just want to see how you think it smells. Okay, open the lid and wait for me to tell you what it is.
Okay.
Okay, this is Parmesan cheese.
Okay.
Just wait for me to say what it is, though, when you...
Okay.
This is vomit.
Bad.
And do you think that what you just smelled was the same as what you smelled first?
No.
So you think they were totally different smells?
Yeah.
It's the same exact jar.
No way.
Yes. I just moved it from here to here.
Really?
Yes.
I had a feeling it was going to be something like that.
Now you just
Really?
demonstrated olfactory illusions in action.
Where do our olfactory preferences come from? Where do our dislikes come from? Who decides? Do we all find the same things disgusting?
おいしい。おいしい。はい。
やだやだやだやだやだやだ。
私がもう本当に好きな魚は草屋という魚を腐らせたものです。
What I really like is
これは
kusaya,
魚をつけて
a type of fermented
発
fish.
酵させた
It is soaked in brine and cured.
私の父親は警察官で
My father was a police officer.
3歳から4歳の
When I was 3 or 4 years old, we lived for 2 years on Miyaki Island. That's where I ate it for the first time. My whole family loved it. Only my mother and my own family can't stand it.
You, through your own personal experiences, culture can play a big role, but also your own personal experiences mediate what you find good and what you find bad. So every culture has, what I like to say, its favorite rot. So for example, in Western cultures, a lot cheese. So for example, take blue cheese in particular. That's you're controlling the rotting of mold so that you get a particular kind of cheese, and people love it. And then you go to another culture, and they'll be thinking that that is disgusting.
Disgust is a response that distinguishes humans from other species. Rachel Hertz thinks that this has to do with human evolution. As humans develop, they gradually spread over the entire planet. In the process, they repeatedly had to adjust to new local food supplies. In contrast to species where the variety of food is fixed from birth, human beings had to learn what is good for them and what isn't. Disgust is a learning aid. 'Tis the emotional alarm that people cannot ignore. The codes for disgust are different in different cultures. There's no universal code for the disgust sensation. But are we really so different from animals? Could it be that there are smells that we don't have to learn? Smells with universal messages already decoded by our genes. Could it be that we are more like animals than we think? The mice of Montreal. They're being tested at the Pain Genetic Lab at McGill University. Their noses can distinguish billions of smells. But olfaction is completely irrelevant at a lab that studies pain. Or so one would have thought. In reality, the noses of these mice will help solve a riddle that has long baffled this man.
A few times over the years, my students have come to me and said, I inject an inflammatory substance into a row of mice in this experiment, and they were supposed to, let's say, lick their paw. And I didn't see any paw licking, they would say to me, and I thought something was very, very wrong with the experiment. But then they would say, but it turned out to be okay, because after I left the room and we let the video cameras record the behavior, when we scored the videotape later, there was licking. It's just that the licking didn't start until I had left the room.
Something blocked their pain response. As long as the lab assistant was in the room, the mice refrained from licking their paws. But not always.
After hearing this story 3 or 4 times over a 6-year period, say, I said, listen, this is not the first time I've heard this story, and if it's true that experimenters produce analgesia or pain inhibition, no one has ever demonstrated that before in any published paper that I'm aware of, so let's go see if it's true.
What caused the reaction in the mice? Why did they respond as expected with some lab assistants and not with others? Must have had something to do with their noses. When a cardboard cutout of a person was placed in the room, the mice reacted normally. Real human beings had to be present. That is, their smell had to be present.
We figured, okay, if it's olfaction, we don't need the person to sit in a chair. All we need is a t-shirt that was worn by a male or a female the night before. That should preserve the olfactory essence of that person. And we can simply take the t-shirt and put it in the same chair near the mice.
The mice were observed further. Sometimes they licked their paws, sometimes they didn't. Until Jeffrey Moger made a startling discovery. Women had no effect on the mice. It had to have something to do with men.
It reduces to something very, very simple, that olfactory stimuli associated with males, that is, man smell, produces stress in mice.
This was the solution to the riddle. The male scent causes stress, and stress reduces sensitivity to pain. But what surprised Jeffrey Moger even more, there is a universal male scent.
In fact, we went on to do a number of studies where we got olfactory stimuli from other species, and we did dogs and cats and guinea pigs and rats and mice. All of these species worked. So the question is, why do humans produce this effect? Simply because human males smell like male dogs, male cats, male guinea pigs, male rats, and male mice. And what we believe is that the subjects are not afraid of us so much as they're afraid of other males of their species.
All male mammals seem to smell the same. But if the male scent is universal, shouldn't it trigger a similar reaction in humans as it does in mice? Jeffrey Mogart's research focuses on pain. At regular intervals, this test subject was asked to indicate how painful he finds the ice-cold water, until the pain causes him to remove his hand. Yet, the subject feels hardly any pain. He, too, smells the male scent. This means stress. And stress means less pain.
It's another indication that we are more like animals than we like to believe, and that phenomena that can be found in lower mammals can also be found in humans, that we haven't erased this sort of vestige of our past.
And what happens if I put this maleness scent on my body? Would I...
Well, again, you don't even need to put it... Oh, I see where you're at. Let me say, first of all, ultimately, all you need to produce this phenomenon is the chemical itself. Now, what would happen if you put that chemical on yourself? Yes, you would smell even more manly than you do now.
I couldn't empty a public bus, for example.
I don't know. I think some people would react well and some people not.
In these bottles, it's reproduced body sweat from anxious men. These men suffer from serious phobia towards other human beings. So I was curious to see, can I smell that someone is afraid? And the smell can only be activated by touching the surface of the wall. So you stay in front of this invisible portrait, you touch the surface, and you release the body sweat of a person.
That's not bad. This is also someone who's afraid.
Everything's about look. He, she, it looks. I don't think that the nose was there just for the purpose to breathe in and out. The nose can identify and understand the situation far beyond what you see. And the nose is much quicker than any of the other senses. It's so much we are missing out by not integrating our noses for the purpose of understanding the world, you know. And understanding the world we live in from the perspective of the nose, you understand that specific situation in the moment of emotion. And learning in emotion, and in the context of emotion, you learn much more fundamental. You know, 31% of communication is rational, the rest is emotional.
We decipher smells unconsciously in a place the understanding cannot access. The psychologist Bettina Pause studies chemosensory communication, a secret language in which humans exchange not words, but smells. What do those smells tell us? What is their hidden message? No one knows their exact composition.
Even today, body odours cannot be artificially synthesized. Body odours contain many hundreds of substances that have to be arranged in a certain concentration to emit the intended signal.
Fear is one such signal. To find out the effect of the smell of fear on others, one needs real-life sweat from nervous people. Bettina Pause collects the perspiration of students immediately before a big exam. She wants to find out whether smelling fear has the same effect on people as seeing it. Scientists have shown that we tend to feel compassion for those in pain. The feeling is caused by mirror neurons, nerve cells activated by interpersonal experiences. When people have fear, those around them feel empathy. Bettina Paus is studying whether this sensation can be triggered through odor alone. Can we smell when someone is anxious?
Here's a neutral picture with the smell of fear in the background. The same brainwaves appear when people see others in pain.
Stress and fear are conveyed by odor molecules. It is a type of social alarm system to inform us as quickly as possible about potential dangers. We don't learn to communicate these messages. They're genetically programmed. Our body odors are like a secret language that we speak without noticing. Humans are constantly exchanging messages below the level of conscious perception.
Odors supply us with social information such as age, whether a person is suitable as a partner, whether he's stressed or aggressive, what he just ate, or whether he's healthy, and probably much more. All these odors act on an unconscious level. This is why it took so long for researchers to study smell. We can't consciously talk about these signals and their effects. They're all subliminal processes. We can laugh when we aren't happy. We can look sad, although we aren't. We can disguise our emotions pretty well. But no one on Earth can disguise his or her chemistry.
People think it doesn't matter in their lives. Even the American Medical Association, if you lose your sense of smell, they value that at between 2 and 5% of your life worth. So if you're trying to sue somebody for money, then that's all that you can get. That's what they'll say that you can get. Whereas vision is 85%.
But what if we lose the sense American physicians consider least important? What if the invisible messages no longer arrive?
I was in the kitchen and drank a glass of milk when my partner entered and said, "What stinks? Whoa, the milk is bad." That's when I realized I had a serious problem.
5 times her sense of smell vanished. 5 times it returned. It's as if her entire olfactory system can mysteriously turn on and turn off. No one knows what causes it.
Living without a sense of smell is very sobering. It's like living in a world without colours. You can see everything, you can touch and feel and hear, all the other senses are there, but how should I put it? It's like being placed behind a sheet of glass.
Around 5% of the population suffer from anosmia or odor blindness. Some don't realize it, but they have to live with the consequences, which include eating disorders. The absence of this seemingly unimportant sense can plunge people into a deep crisis.
I find it really sad when I saute onions. That smell is wonderful because it makes your mouth water, but I can't experience that. I've started eating sweeter food, though I don't really want to, but it's the only thing I can taste, because otherwise food tastes like cardboard. You only notice temperature and consistency. You don't care what you eat.
The tongue is considered a taste organ. In reality, it merely controls which foods enter our bodies and which do not. The actual tasting takes place somewhere else. Thomas Hummel investigates noses and brains, and therefore he knows about the secret of good taste.
What we can see here are the taste buds. Our ability to taste changes depending on how many taste buds we have. People who have more taste buds have a more sensitive palate.
The tongue provides only a very rough assessment of our food. It perceives the strengths of the cardinal tastes: sweet, sour, salty, bitter, and umami. The fine differentiation of tastes occurs elsewhere. What we call taste occurs through molecules that are released while chewing.
And these molecules come around the corner from the mouth, behind the soft palate, which closes off the oral cavity and enters the nose and is smelled here.
Our olfactory system is also responsible for taste perception. And it harbors another secret as well.
When I smell something, I'm immediately submerged in the situation. When I enter a gym and smell sweat, I'm a child at the sports hall again. But when I can't smell, the gym is nothing more than a building. It doesn't mean anything to me.
Following the signals of our olfactory receptors leads us to the oldest part of the human brain. Therein lies the secret for the importance of smell. The nose is directly linked to our memories.
Many people have memories associated with smells. The scent is like a key that unlocks memories. When people lose their sense of smell, it's as if they drop the key and the memories disappear. They are missing the key. They can no longer retrieve these emotions because they no longer perceive the smell that fits the lock.
Unlike other sensory systems, such as sight and hearing, the olfactory bulb has a direct line to an unconscious region known as the limbic system. Here is where feelings originate and memories are stored. The electrical impulses from our olfactory bulb awaken deeply buried memories and power strong emotions. Only a fraction of this process reaches our conscious mind. Of all their effects, smells primarily work on our emotions. One of the most cold-blooded figures in world literature had his education here, the woman killer Jean-Baptiste Grenouille. The man had an outrageous idea. He wanted to devise a scent that would elicit the strongest emotions known to man. But first, he had to learn the art of perfumery. And then, he had to find fresh female bodies. He wanted an irresistible elixir that would bring him the love he had yet to experience himself. But concocting it required a murderous plan. He slinked through town and grabbed them at night. First, he killed them. Then, he extracted their olfactory essence.
Jean-Baptiste Grenouille, qui n'avait pas d'odeur, était complètement invisible.
Jean-Baptiste Grenouille, who didn't have a smell himself, was completely invisible to others. Creating a smell gave him a sense of smell again and made it the focus of his sensuality. He wanted to create a smell that is as alluring and seductive as possible. On the one hand, something like sulfur, something devilish, but also something sensual, animalistic, flowery and pure. One must play with the pure notes. These are the orange tree blossoms. For seduction, it is roses. Jasmine too can have a devilish, hellish, animalistic side.
Dans le livre de Susskind, le parfum,
the figure of Jean-Baptiste Grenouille in Suskind's perfume is an invention, of course. But finding a universally irresistible perfume is still our holy grail. We would love to create a perfume that enchants everyone.
In the past, irresistible scents came from nature only. These scents carried unmistakable messages containing life's truths.
Is that a new concoction?
I'm not proud of it.
Like always, rose and jasmine.
I think we have arrived at the kind of perfume that Jean-Baptiste Grenouille would have created. Arranged around orange blossoms, jasmine and roses. These three elements also have a very sensual side, with animal notes of leather. I don't know if it is irresistible, but I don't think it's bad. We play with regressive notes that recall our childhood. We play with animal scents that awaken a sexual, sensual sensation. We play with a multitude of elements so that our perfume can transport a message. A message of seduction, freshness, cleanliness or innocence. These elements, thanks to certain raw materials, allow us to create a certain message.
Wearing a synthetic fragrance is an insignia of modern man. By controlling our own odors, we want to do away with our animal nature and replace it with scents and messages we invented ourselves. Enormous amounts of synthetic fragrances are produced each year. Fragrances we wear, or fragrances for things that we consume. The odor industry has built $1 billion business out of creating an artificially scented world. Symrise in Holzminden has 12% of the global market share, making it one of the largest fragrance companies in the world. Its products are both invisible and ubiquitous. Odor molecules are Symrise's stock in trade. They're designed to convey information that makes goods seem more valuable.
Generally, people are not aware how important olfaction is. They use a certain product and they don't know that it contains a certain scent.
The palette of synthetic scents is virtually endless. They're added to cleaning agents and skincare products and to foods like sweets, yogurts, meat and baby food. They can also be found in leather products, cell phones and automobiles. Does what we smell bear any relation anymore to what we consume?
And that is the exciting part. Here are two components. One smells green, like fresh cut grass. The other smells like the fair, like cotton candy. When I put them together in the right proportion, I get a third note that smells like strawberry.
The link between smell and natural substance was severed long ago. Today, we're constantly bombarded with hundreds of synthetic scents. How we feel about the products we consume daily is shaped by odor molecules. They end up where their influence can fully unfold in the brain.
Once a scent enters your nose, it does something to you. The scent doesn't change you radically, but it may lead to an unconscious change in behavior.
What if this man could change people's behaviors through smell alone? He would hold the key to overwhelming power.
For all intents and purposes, one can try to translate any attribute, trust, trustworthiness, intimacy, or whatever, into a scent. It is the only medium that immediately passes into the limbic system where emotions originate. If we think about it, we need to ask, why shouldn't we?
One scent even influences our hormone levels. The scent is called Hedione. It's the smell of success.
Some molecules exert a fascinating power. For instance, hedione and isoe super have very interesting effects. Hedione works much like a pheromone. It has a magnetic effect. As for isoe super, scientific studies have shown that it increases empathy and generosity. These are substances that are in demand and could be beneficial in many applications.
Gefragt sind und Sinn machen könnten.
Robert Müller-Grünow is a scent marketer. The scents created here are used in companies around the world. Today's fragrance industry is booming, and almost every sector works with scents. They've long become a part of global marketing. Wherever large numbers of consumers gather, industries are trying out new scents. The companies want something that is buried deep in people's interior, their emotions, and by extension, their money.
Ja, bei der Sparda Bank haben wir halt.
At our meeting with Sparda Bank, the message was clear. Capture the values that represent the bank.
Our job was to create a scent that says hello. This message is based on 6 brand values. We told our partners to make a scent that smells like integrity, professionalism and reason, but also intimacy, love of life and dynamism. And with that, they got started.
I beg your pardon? What it's about, ultimately, is strengthening customer loyalty in a branch where contact with customers has become increasingly infrequent.
It contains a very large share of hedione, 40%, I think. It is a scent that transports something very human, something that suggests human intimacy.
Menschennähe suggeriert.
Hedione activates a pheromone receptor in humans. Pheromones are chemical messengers that human beings exchange to, say, sense affection.
There's no scientific study showing that one scent is good against depression, another increases purchase intention, a third is good for thyroid disorders or fear or who knows what. All those claims come from industry people. I don't know any scientific literature that supports them. What is proven is that there are smells that are calming and smells that excite us. That's all.
So, is it all just a gimmick? What is certain is that companies are banking on these invisible molecules, and they aren't waiting for science to catch up. They've decided to forge ahead alone. Strikes, delays, expensive tickets. Railway systems everywhere are a headache to passengers.
We want to positively influence those who travel with us by making sure that they feel comfortable.
Nämlich, dass sich wohlfühlt. Also das ist durchaus das Ziel einer Beeinflussung im positiven Sinne.
You know that we have air conditioning on board. When the train gets too hot, we turn it on. This is also an intentional, conscious bid to influence people, one that everyone notices. A scent could be used to do the same thing.
Passengers aren't given a choice whether or not to smell the scent. Its potential benefits are too good to pass up. According to one study, the use of certain smells can lead passengers to believe they're getting better value for their money.
This is shown in a study conducted over several years by the Institute of Marketing at the University of Munich. It found that when facing an annoying situation, such as lateness, people assess the situation better and are less critical in a well-scented compartment compared with those in an unscented compartment.
The economic potential of olfactory magic formulas like these is enormous. Using smell to manipulate people's emotions and generate sympathy is no longer reserved for murderous characters from fiction. Smell's mysterious power has piqued the general interest, and that includes science. What if there were more to smell than we think? What if we smell not only through our noses? This man made a revolutionary discovery. For that, he had to question the findings of two American scientists who in 2004 had received the Nobel Prize for identifying human olfactory receptors.
These Nobel Prize winners said that the sensors or receptors for olfactory perception are in the nose and nowhere else. And that is simply wrong.
Hans Halt and his colleagues heard about a strange phenomenon. Belgian researchers had found traces of olfactory receptors in the testicles of mice and rats. Halt examined the human testicles for similar signs. Then came his revolutionary discovery. Sperm cells have a sense of smell. They do not have a nose, but they possess olfactory receptors. The path of the egg cell is far and dark, yet there's a smell that leads the way: lily of the valley. The scent of lily of the valley is the egg cell's perfume, and it attracts sperm cells like a magnet. As soon as they smell it, they've only one goal:
This was the beginning of a major breakthrough in science. We have since examined the body from head to foot: heart, kidneys, lungs, liver, brain, and have found olfactory receptors from the nose in every tissue of the body.
Olfactory receptors can be found even in the intestines. There they serve to analyze the food as it is being digested. Odor molecules activate receptors in the intestinal cells, which then release chemical messengers. These messengers signal to the muscle cells to contract, ensuring smooth digestion. However, Hans Halt discovered something else. He found that cancer cells have olfactory receptors as well, 2,000 times as many as healthy cells.
One can even use it as a diagnostic criterion. For instance, I know that if only a few receptors are present on a prostate cell, it is healthy. If many are present, it is cancerous.
It's an exciting possibility. Might the right smell someday stop tumor growth? For that to become reality, however, much research is needed. So far, we only know 10% of the smells that activate human olfactory receptors.
A lot of dogs have left their marks here. Interesting combination. And here are some humans.
Sissel Tollers collects smells. If she can't take the source with her, or if she'd prefer not to, she simply captures the air around it.
I collect the smell molecules from this garment. I can show people this is how it smells, you know, and this molecule or this smell, together with how you smell in your own body, is your image, is your, so to say, smell DNA, you know, in the end of the day. That's what comes across when you meet other people, yeah?
It is here, in this laboratory, that Sissel Toller stores the world's smells. Nearly 7,000 so far. She's mapped entire cities by their smells. but never once has she deemed one good or bad.
If you speak about cheese, yeah, it's a quality if it smells like a body. And if you speak about the body it's smelling as a cheese, you know, it's negative. So why is that? Science so much further, and we should start to see what science kind of have found out and start to integrate it and use it.
Indeed, the investigation of olfactory perception and its application has only just begun. Probably we should prepare ourselves for some surprises.
Warum nicht Duft als Waffe? Also,
Why not use smells as a weapon? You have to walk away. You can't do anything.
Hält keiner aus.
No one can stand the smell.
Warum soll das nicht gut sein?
Certainly it's a good thing.
Das ist eine sehr humane Art.
That is a very humane way to wage war. I find it interesting. If I were in the military, I would definitely give it some thought.
Irgendwie im Militär würde ich mir darüber Gedanken machen. Klar.